to China, this is what they're giving excuses. High cost of living, especially in urban areas, along with women delaying marriage in favor of a career, cutthroat See, they just explained it. Cutthroat competition
Well,
pressures parents
and
to ensure children are admitted to the into the best schools and universities have deterred would-be parents from procreating.
and it doesn't help that that you have rising cost of living when over 40% of the population of China lives on less than $2 a day. So,
Yeah, no, that's really not good.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
excuse me.
I
it's
mean,
And
it's
then in the
close.
they
UK,
say that they, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
okay, I was saying, and in the UK, the reason they give women to the grandmothers, let's see if they actually say if let's see if they will actually touch on it in this article. By comparison, 51% of women in 1970 became a mother by the time they reached 30. 76 of those born in 1950, women born in 1941, most likely to have their first baby by their more likely to have at least one baby by their age. 82%. Amanda Schaffman of
Man,
ONS, a statistician, said we continue to see delay in childbearing with women born in 1990 becoming the first cohort where half of women remain childless by their 30th birthday. Those are childlessness by age 35
so
remains
it
steadily rising.
so so it really looks like
They won't say here.
feminism is no,
Yes.
no, 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 but it looks like feminism is killing our population.
Yes.
That's literally the
Exactly.
design of feminism.
That's why I'm like, that's why we're all here. That's why everybody here just naturally came to the conclusion feminism's got to go.
Yeah, it's
Because it
it's a good
is.
thing that most women in the region that I live in now are not feminist. Most women in
You
this
still have to
region
be
are pretty
careful
Sure, let's
traditional.
go. Sure,
No,
let's
of
go with
course,
that.
of course, of course. Well,
because feminism has
I
been
mean,
around for a hundred
what?
and so they just celebrated their 100th birthday.
Well,
It's
So
that's
it
pretty much
bothers
that's in the
me.
19th Amendment. 100 years since the 19th Amendment, at least.
So it bothers me that some of the women that I encounter in this region are not very literate. And so I need to find somebody who's literate, but I also need to find somebody who's not a
you're
feminist.
finding
It,
people who are
You're
literate.
looking for a unicorn.
oh, see, no, I listen,
I'm kidding. I
listen.
kid. Or
Most
you could
most
just teach her.
most women I encounter here, regardless of race or ethnic background, are not feminists. Most of them are very traditional and religious, which is good. But like 50% of the women that I encounter are not very literate. So that's kind of a it's an issue.
Very much an issue.
Anyway, you guys want to
Like I
finish
need
this one?
somebody on at least a comparable level of literacy. If you
So I
can't
take
read
it
the
you're not
newspaper
I
without
take
help.
it you're not a neo-Gastonist.
Oh no.
um, you do know what neo-Gastonism is, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. First things first. You beat the crap out of a furry. Second,
Mm,
um, women cannot read. Ah, God, I got the third point right off the top of my head. Just give me a second. Cedric, have you heard of neo-Gastonism?
I have not. What is
It
the
came
first
from
two
John
guidelines?
Doyle out of all people.
See, I don't have a problem with beating the crap out of furries. If they are
Well,
influencing my family, I will beat the crap out of them.
I was
If
gonna
they're
say
doing
my
it in
issue
their own
with
privacy,
furries.
that's their whatever.
I was gonna say, my issue with furries is look how much that fursuit cost. Do you think they why couldn't they buy a pipe bomb and send it to your mailbox with that kind of money they spent on a fursuit? Just think about it. Oh wait, here goes the 3 points in neo-Gassonism. One, women can't read. Two, we eat a lot of eggs. Three, we beat the crap out of furries.
There you go. See, I like a woman who is literate because I enjoy discussing literature, and it's hard to discuss literature with someone who
With
doesn't
somebody
read.
who's yeah. Well,
Anyway,
and
let's
it just shows how technological we as a society we have become because people nowadays and this is like everywhere you can see people that don't even read but like they all have a phone
Yep,
uh and they know how to work technology.
yep.
So I mean it's sort of a lost. I think it's sort of a lost
technology has, and I'm using this word in the purest of senses. Technology has sort of retarded our,
Oh, no, great. Now we
society.
got flagged. Thanks a lot,
No. To retard means to slow, to dumb down. So
just use that instead. I know what you're trying. I know you mean in the most technical sense possible, but now we're getting flagged. It's like me saying,
I am not
anyway,
using that as a derogatory term for, I wouldn't talk crap about retards.
Oh, come on.
Oh, now you did it.
Now you did. I don't know what I walked in on, but we're live. We're recording now. I don't know.
All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the after show. I stepped out for a minute. I came back. Ming was talking about something, and I have no idea what I caught on when I came back on. All right, but this is Summer Night.
And it's Cedric.
Buenos días, amigos. Yo soy Ming.
Your Spanish is worse than Beto's.
Cállate la boca, cabrón.
But anyway, we're gonna start off with looking at some stats from the live show that we cannot show on YouTube. In fact, I'll probably cut that
yo
out
quiero.
segment.
Me gusta women's suffrage.
Yeah, USA 1920 enforcement of women's suffrage. U.S. fertility rate 3.3. 1910 per capita state expenditures and revenue real capita per $1996 of the U.S. states that hasn't given women rights to vote. 1920. As you can see, our taxes. Give me a second. Somebody's calling me. Gotta mute my phone. Dang spammers. But per capita, okay, as you see, we had low taxes and low spending when women did not vote. 1910, 1915, 1920, we gave women the right to vote, and
who would have thought? Who would have thought that men are more responsible with spending than I'm. Oh my gosh!
I don't know. That's well.
Who would have thunk it?
It's a totally foreign idea. I don't know. It's not like we could ever admit that on air.
Who would have thought that the entire sex that's more or less dependent on other people doing stuff for them would vote for more money, would vote for more resources, and we need to pay for it somehow.
What? This is.
I mean, there's part 2 to this chart. We're just looking at the first part, then we'll move on to the second part. But as you can see, high taxes in the and socialists always say that we had high taxes in the 1930s, 40s. Like, yeah, immediately after we gave women the right to vote, our taxes just skyrocketed. Our government spending skyrocketed. I mean, there's a little dip right here in government spending, but then now it's kind of cool. It's just saying no. And he was the last. He was the last president. Well, he was the last one anywhere to just say no, and then it went right back up.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. When you look at this chart, spending has gone. Well, taxes went up exponentially.
Keep in mind this chart ended in 1930. In 1935, we have less children, and so we're having less children per average. We're facing a demographic time bomb. And
also realized that they had just gone through a war.
Well, I'm talking even after the baby boom happened, because let's face it, baby boom was inevitable because people come back from war. Well, many come back from war. The highest testosterone, haven't seen a woman in years. They see their child.
Yeah, baby booms are always.
They're gonna make some babies. Yeah,
they are.
They're gonna make some babies.
Let's play like this. She's okay with it because, well, a really masculine man saying, "Let's go." Anyway, how dramatically did women's suffrage change the size and scale of government? John R. Lott Jr. and Larry Kinney, Law School of the University of Chicago, National Center for Health Statistics. If you guys are looking for sources. Anyway, let's what happened next? The U.S. debt rose, but rather slowly until another milestone was reached. U.S. debt inflation adjusted. Keep in mind this chart right here is actually kind of old. Let's just zoom in a bit. This chart is kind of old. It stops in about 2010 or so. And the person who made this chart, he was only using information from 2010. So we're not looking at anything from from the pandemic or any of that. We're looking solely from 1934, 1934 to early Obama. Anyway, U.S.
Oh
debt
my gosh,
inflation
wait.
adjusted. World War II spikes, goes down. What happened in
Well, look
1980
at
when we became majority of the electorate, and it just started going up and
well,
up.
if you look at around or like around Obama's the beginning of Obama's first term, it goes up even more exponentially than it already was.
And then also,
Um,
I'm also gonna say like right here, this is about 2007, so that's Bush.
yeah, that's crazy. And then it just kept going up.
Yeah, women's suffrage worse than World War II. Look, that was the debt. That's
Wow.
inflation from war. From war. War causes debt. Inflation. War causes debt.
Yes.
And this line right here, this line right here is when women became the majority of the electorate, 1980. You see, it just skyrocketed worse than war. What the hell?
Yeah.
At this
Well,
point,
I mean-
if you look at the stats and you're just an honest person who is swayed by facts and data, you got to say, maybe you should stay in the kitchen.
It's just maybe. I mean that, but then again, that goes back to like first they had to emasculate. Like the first thing that feminism did was had to emasculize, demasculine,
Emasculate men.
emasculate men. Yeah, that
Emasculate.
word.
That's the word you're looking for. Yes.
I knew it had an e somewhere. Anyways, but the first thing they had to do was emasculate men so that they could become worth it in anything,
Right.
like useful to society. And
I just
since
zoomed in the picture, so I'm going to zoom out so we can read some of the stuff
Yeah.
in here.
and then as women tried to become more and more valuable to society, well, not to society but to the workforce, more I might add, instead of
Which during the war was quite necessary.
which
Uh,
during a war is necessary. That when you don't have enough people to fight a war, that's necessary. Like now we don't need to do that. We
right.
do. We have technology, but back then that was sometimes that was necessary. But now that women are officially like have been given their rights and given like all else other shit to make them palatable for the working palate. We see that kids go down. We see that people they spend more money on themselves, not on families, and we see our population start to dwindle. Um, and ultimately, it's basically the death of a country. That's all it is.
Well, it's pretty worldwide. It might be the death of a species.
It very well could be.
I mean, sure, those I was gonna say, sure, those goat fuckers may have the wrong god, maybe doing anything else wrong, but they do know how to keep women in line. Keep in mind, they didn't even keep in mind the women.
Well,
didn't
it's
even
not
fight
that they
back.
know how to.
The women didn't even fight
See,
back.
I'm not a.
It's
See,
not even that they know how to. It's that they did it,
Yeah.
or that it's
We're
in
not
their
saying-
religion
look,
and they don't waver.
we
from it.
will say that
I
they're wrong.
don't agree with their methods. I don't agree with their methods of abuse towards
Oh,
women.
yeah, most definitely. I mean,
But
you should
not hate people weaker
I
than you.
do no. But I do see the value in a patriarchal society.
Yeah. So we are so yeah, we support patriarchy. But let's read this real quick because it's actually something funny I gotta just mention.
We support patriarchy, but not abuse of women.
Yeah. I mean, well, patriarchy doesn't mean. Well, I'm not gonna say that patriarchy means abuse of women.
Well, I mean, we're living in a
women are supposed to
matriarchy
be
right now.
used. I mean, women are supposed to be protected because, well, they're weaker than men. You don't go around abusing kids. It just weakens yourself.
Right.
Like we're living like right now we have like 90% of the laws in this country affect solely like not I won't that's a stupid
Well, they're
number,
only
but
affected against men. They're only affected on
yeah
men.
any sexual
Divorce, alimony, child support.
Yeah, like, and yeah, the law is but like what it's supposed to be asexual and it's supposed to apply equally to everyone. But there
But
are
are they being
still
applied
laws on the
equally?
no, they aren't.
No.
And furthermore, there is an extra set of laws that only apply to specifically men. Look at all the rape laws, for example.
Rape
Um,
laws, domestic violence laws. Like for instance, if your girl starts hitting you and you call the police on her, you're going to jail.
Hashtag Amber Heard. Hashtag Johnny Depp was innocent.
That's not even part of that's.
Hashtag Chris Brown and Rihanna, who
Well, Chris
Chris
Brown actually
Brown.
did hit her, so that's different.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
Chris
did hit
Brown hit
her.
her, but she was hitting him first.
I
Sorry.
Yeah,
know,
but he
but
hit her.
we're
I
not
would,
going to get into
yeah.
that one.
That one's a little bit touchier.
Just like he did on her.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
in every presidential election since the year 1980, women have outnumbered men voting Democratic, and men outnumber women in voting Republican. As a result, President Obama won the presidential election due to only female vote. You know what's actually funny? This is funny. Just in high school, I had a teacher that something completely based by the fact he's a Democrat. He just said JFK won because he looked pretty for the women. He dolled himself up.
damn.
And I'm like, and me,
True.
the blue pill,
Damn.
the blue pill me that I was like, well, blue pill 16, I was like, that was awfully sexist. And now here I am later, I'm like, my God, that was
You're like,
based
oh, no, it
as
was
hell.
true.
Yeah.
It was true.
That was based as hell. But either way, various polls, Gallup, CBS, Times Mirror Center, Time, CNN, all found women and men to be divided, ranging between 10 to 25 percentage points, all on the following issues: increased role of government. Women want more government, men don't. Welfare, women want more welfare, men don't. Affirmative action, women want more affirmative action, and men don't. Oh, speaking of affirmative action, no, it's absolute bull. Wait, no, I know what to do.
Welcome to the room of infinite bullshit!
Say it. Well, I guess I'm gonna say it. No, it's bullshit. White women benefit more from affirmative action than black men. Yet guess who's screaming, "Go back to
that-
Africa"?
Yeah.
God.
What the
Ooh.
fuck? Like, I'm not endorsing affirmative action. I'm saying there was a time and a place for it. Now there's no time or place for it. Like I said,
Well,
now,
they should put a sunset clause on it. Like, yeah, I understand affirmative action. I understand the point of affirmative action if you've got a legitimate deficit
but it's been
in the
50
population
years.
where there shouldn't be.
It's been
Yeah, they
50
should
years.
have
We need to move
effectively
on.
put a time limit on it. Because not for one, the whole point of affirmative action was to show that was to basically effectively force people to be equal, and then once the minds of people changed, then it could be removed in good faith, knowing that
Hey, it's all their own choices now. We tried. It's at this point, it's on
In-
you. But
In
that's why
today's day and age, I think that most people can agree that in today's day and age, affirmative action is more harmful than beneficial to all parties involved.
I
It
do.
negatively affects the people who benefit from it because they are not necessarily prepared for. Well, if we're talking purely scholastic, benefits,
you face
they're not necessarily
double-
prepared.
I was
Well,
gonna say,
yeah,
you
I
face
face double discrimination.
because you're an Asian.
Yeah,
man,
because
you're a
white and
male.
Asian. Yeah,
So,
right. But it also hurts those that it benefits because say black or Latino people that
they
get into
some
a
place
certain
they
school,
clearly
not
do have no business being. They get into
right.
school.
If they don't have the academic qualifications or merits to be getting into that school, but they get in because of affirmative action, they're going to be, light years behind their peers.
And then they're going to wind up dropping
And
out with all that college debt.
Yep.
And then they're going to,
yep,
when they could have easily graduated from a lesser known school, they still have the same degree. But
yep.
that being said, just looking at it, I still just call that bullshit how white women benefit more from affirmative action than black men, despite the fact it was white women doing it.
Affirmative action and it was black men. So they literally created affirmative action for black people.
Yep,
How
it
did
was
white
it was
women
for
come
black
and hijack
people.
that?
That was the closest in reparations we've got, and white women took it from everybody. Well, I was gonna say they gave it to everybody, which is why I'm not for reparations anymore, because we're just gonna give it away to everybody.
Well, if you want an example of what reparations looks like, just drive through any Native American nation. It's
It's sad.
it's purely
fair enough.
dystopic.
In
If you
fact,
go into a
you know
like
how they
I drove
say,
through 3 Native American nations last week, and they were all poor. The casinos looked nice, but everything else within the Native American nation was like broke, torn down, and just like dusty, dirty, and hasn't been renovated in decades. It's all like garbage. Looks horrible.
speaking of Native Americans, did you know Native Americans are the only group that have worse outcome than black? They have higher single motherhood rates, higher prison rates, higher police shooting rates.
Higher everything, really. Yeah.
And statistically speaking, they have higher
this,
IQs.
Well, their IQs are on par with that of white people. So therefore,
yeah,
all you white nationalists saying blacks are having all these problems because they're dumb. What about Native Americans? It's clearly a cultural problem.
They're not dumb.
It's clearly a cultural problem, purely a government dependence problem, not actual IQ. Anyway,
but you know what they can do is they can what they can do is they can just say, oh well, you know, historically black people and Native Americans were victims of the white man, and so you know 300 what they were victims of from 300 years ago. Listen, what they were victims of from 300 years ago still affects them today, is what they will argue.
But then here goes what I have to say to counter that. You do know white people sold black people to Native Americans, right? In fact,
yep.
I think the last holdout for slavery was in 1870. It was because we were stopping Native Americans from keeping African slaves. So that whole narrative kind of falls apart with that. Anyway, you guys want to move on to the next. Let's move on to the next one because we've been there for like 15 minutes. From the Daily Wire, former FDA head immunity from Omicron likely protected. New variant doesn't appear to be more virulent.
So this is relevant because I had Omicron last week. It's a head cold.
Like about a month ago. Well, earlier.
It's a head cold. I swear. Just sinus pressure and a scratchy throat. That was it. Nothing debilitating at all. And now I've got long-lasting immunity for new variants, according to this guy.
Same here. So basically, we're saying natural immunity works better than the vaccines, but at the same time, go talk to a doctor who actually wants to heal people. If you
like the frontline doctors.
If you see anything sus about your doctor, go get a new doctor. Other than that,
yeah. So here's what like sort of upsets me when it comes to all of these, like when it comes to the doctors and the differing medical opinions about COVID and everything. We continually have been silencing any opinions about like the vaccine might have like any bad side effects. Wait, we can't let that get out there. Let's silence all those doctors. They don't need to know.
They're silencing people who are educated and people who are, actually work with patients. They only it seems like the establishment and the media, they only allow for what their narrative is. So if there's any educated people who happen to disagree with the narrative based on their own practice, those opinions are not allowed to be broadcast.
Yeah, and and ultimately it's hurting like society. Like the fact, and I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast on like this, and he was talking about really smart guy. He had this sociologist, I can't remember his name on it right now, but one of the first thing that happened with COVID was the COVID spread, and then immediately after it were lies, and there were lies everywhere. But instead of letting people prove their own theories in front of the public, in front of like through scrutiny,
right?
They just ended up silencing.
Yeah, if you say somebody you don't prove them wrong, you just show that you fear what they have to say.
Exactly. And you have to let like if Trump and here's my biggest thing. If Trump had really said take freaking fish cleaner,
they would be playing
that would have been you could play it on loop. He didn't even say that.
But he didn't say that.
No, he
Yeah,
did.
you never said that.
But some Democrat woman who was whose husband was cheating on her, fed her husband fish cleaner and claimed, "Oh no, the president's made me do it."
Yeah, and and to wrap the nice bow up, she did get charged for homicide, for
Oh,
murder.
thank God.
She did. I don't know if she actually got convicted, depending on because it was
Probably
political, but she definitely got charged with it.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one because we have to kind of breeze through this and just have something to laugh at.
Oh yeah, you have like work and such because you're a
Yeah.
responsible man.
Something that you.
I've got work. Mine's just in the morning.
From Bounding in the Comics, Punisher co-creator Jerry Conway wants character rebooted as a black vet who faces issues that minorities in the world face today. Like what?
Oh, I want to know. I want to see this and how if it's actually good.
I'm curious on saying what do we have to do? Oh, by the way, for context, there was a thing where at one point Punisher had a drug that turned his skin dark, and he cut his hair short. I kid you not, that actually happened. In the spirit of current Marvel, the Punisher co-creator Jerry Conway has revealed his wishes for the iconic anti-hero to be rebooted as a black armed forces veteran who faces issues that minorities in the world face today. Fade to white. Let's just read this comic panel. Thursday. So what you're telling? Thursday. So what are you telling me? The Punisher come back as a black man? I'm telling you, he's in Chicago and very much alive, and I'm offering a way to remedy that. Source Punisher Volume 2, Issue 62, Fade to White, 1991, Marvel Comics. Voiced by Mike Barron and Market. Remember the guy from the...
Why?
Okay.
Why they gotta race swap characters? Like I never understood what's
the... They didn't race swap them. They just gave him a drug that turned him black.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it is possible.
Wait, just read. I don't know if you guys recognize this. Remember our first article on the live show? Read that name.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah, he wrote a... So yeah, sure he's doing manly stuff now, but he gets her Punisher back. My best guess is just somebody... I don't know if somebody higher up, because I think it was Joe Quesada. God, I can't think of the guy's name. I don't remember who was the editor-in-chief. Either way, they turned him back. They turned him from black to white. Conway touched upon his vision for Punisher feature during the October 2021 appearance in the Endless Thread podcast, invited on by hosts Amory Severston and Ben Brock Johnson for a conversation on Frank Castle's Skull logo as part of the series on the histories and cultural impacts of various pieces of culture which have been imprinted within society as memes. Go ahead.
See, memes are the purest form of cultural expression.
More or less.
Yes, they are. I mean, honestly, I support Punisher going black as long as he goes back to being white.
They already did that. That was the whole fade to white. That was the whole fade to white story arc.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's pretty cool. It's definitely better than, them turning Superman gay, like turning Robin gay.
Right.
Because at least this has a decent representation of the story, and they could, they could put all the, the racist shit that that happens on the daily, in, I don't know, like New York City with the cops. Like, they can put all the racist shit they want in there, but at the end of the day, like, turn him back to being a white dude.
Right.
And I that's a plausible storyline, and it's not like overly SJW, if you catch my drift. But it's not like, and it doesn't take away from the character.
That seems like a decent storyline, and they can't do a good story. They have to do propaganda full force.
Okay, I'm gonna cut in here real quick, and tell you you can cut this out when you edit. But like the most Missouri thing.
The BLM and Antifa had set upon the town. They called it peaceful protest as they burned shit to the ground. A young man watching slapped his mag and chambered his first round. They ain't gonna loot no more.
Hello there, this is Solomon Knight, and I take it you made it to the end of the video. I graciously want to say thank you for your time. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. I also have several social media accounts that you can follow me on, and there's even some alt tech exclusives. Link in the descriptions below. See you there.